Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
And one thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lied.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late. They cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me they're tired of the front on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I serve as peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging the generations remember our story.
Peace and blessings to the good people. What's the word? What's the word? What's the word? Happy Tuesday, man. Good to be here with y'all again. Hope all is well. Hope you staying warm. If you at work, appreciate you for tapping in. If you're in the comfort of your home, I hope you got you something nice, warm to drink. Got you a nice little mug sitting there on your nightstand. Shout outs to the writers, the poets, the content creators, all of y'all, man. Much love to the people who's been tapping in with us over the last couple of weeks. Appreciate you. Coach, good morning. Grand Risings, buenos dias. What's the word?
Hey, man. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Another chilly day, just staying warm, staying proactive.
Yeah, man, it's cold out there.
Yeah. I got the clip. I'm gonna put it up on a big screen. This is an interesting one, man, because I have a couple questions. I'm curious to know what the people think or how they feel about it, or if anybody cares at all. China said, you know what, we not about to have this over here. The brother in the video, he has a different point of view. So I'm gonna bring this up. We're gonna jump straight into it, man. Minute 54.
Okay, let's do
it. Banned OnlyFans. They are calling it a Western disease that causes society to decay. Now, I think we all saw this coming to anybody who was paying attention. Not only China, but there's a bunch of other countries that have banned OnlyFans. But their reason for banning it, they're going to make up any excuse to ban it. But the main reason they are banning it for real is that they aren't making any money from it. It's the same reason that a lot of countries banned TikTok, because they weren't making any money from it. That's the reason the U.S. government wanted to shut TikTok down, because they weren't making any money from it. We're talking about TikTok is an app that currently generates billions of dollars, and the U.S. government was getting none of that money, $0 of that money. In fact, y'all remember when Donald Trump said that TikTok has to be taxed, and that tax money is going straight to the Treasury, the Treasury Department of the U.S. government, and he was informed that that would be quite illegal. So he did the next best thing, and he told TikTok that they had to sell the app to an American buyer, basically. But the same thing is happening with OnlyFans now. OnlyFans is currently generating even more money than TikTok, like billions and billions of dollars. And the US government and the Chinese government, all of these governments are seeing none of that money. So they're trying to shut it down until they get some of that money. It's really messed up because it's basically the government's bullying other companies into giving them like some money. It's really messed up. OnlyFans is currently generating.
So two parts. Let's just start with the first one. Is this about morality or about money?
I think both things can be true, man. One of the things you have to think about in other countries is they don't have access to all these things that we watch on TV. So that would be the morality piece. A lot of things are policed and structured, so only certain type of propaganda is displayed on their televisions. So it doesn't necessarily, give them the access and the freedom to express themselves completely how they do here in America. And that's kind of what he says the Western civilization trash TV talk. But at the same time, too, you can be in one of those other countries and they'll have like porn on every other channel. You know what I mean? So again, it's just controlling the media and the masses and what they are allowing and deemed to see important or, educational to their demographic in their countries. So yeah, both things can be true though.
You've seen a lot of the world, more than some will. In your travels, when it comes to culture, what do you notice, or what have you noticed being in different areas versus being over here? Like, are they more grounded within theirs? Do they have more of a different way of actually honoring the things that they have a respect for versus here? I mean, what do you notice as far as the differences between being overseas and here in the United States?
In a lot of areas, it's kind of like we've been talking about in the conversations is, we may lean towards tradition and the way things were, or culture, things of that nature. But in America, some people hold on to that, and then some people hold on to being able to evolve, being able to, have the freedom of think, the freedom of speech. Like everybody talks about, the politics and the presidents and, how unhappy they are, the positive or negative comments about the president, just the congressional delegates, different things like that. You don't have those freedoms in other countries. You know what I mean? So then we talk about OnlyFans. Last night we talked about TikTok. We talked about how the diversity, just us on the panel, having so much different experience and kind of narrowing it down to figure out what we want to, who we're talking about versus in other countries. You don't have that diversity and that freedom to talk about it all in totality, or to necessarily be on a platform like yours and open, expressively, and freedom talk good, bad, or indifferent about any topics. Those things are more tailored. They're more scripted to only certain people allowed to be on social media. And then it's a lot of keywords, buzzwords that, like you mentioned also, like on YouTube, that'll flag it. A lot of the governments and stuff, they're monitoring those things and they'll shut those things down. And essentially what it boils down to is just free flow of information. Here we can talk about, pass on information, try to help each other build, make the community stronger. But you don't necessarily have all those tools and those resources in other countries. A lot of that stuff is monitored and limited so that you can't necessarily build and try to help each one become better versions of themselves and et cetera. So it's a lot that's, I think in America, they don't realize the freedoms that you have to just do whatever. And then that's also the problem is why you don't necessarily, I won't say have control, but you don't have a lot of structure in certain areas. And it'll be predominantly in our areas, in the minorities, where we seem to be the ones that are glamorized for acting out and going out and choosing these freedoms and just expressing them in ways that might not necessarily be conducive to other people's.
I'm glad you said that because I've watched a number of videos where we have men who consider themselves as passport bros, right? They leave because they want to experience different cultures. They want to see what it's like in areas where the mindset of the adults, they aren't indoctrinated by what we deem over here as toxic behaviors and things of that nature. And a lot of them, when they do these videos and they report back what they find, some people will tell you, they're friendlier over here. They don't dress a certain way. They eat healthier, et cetera, et cetera. But then you have to consider, well, here's the positives that I think are positives, but then here's some negatives that might not be negatives to you, but they're negatives to me, right? And so thinking about them saying, well, we banning OnlyFans because it's toxic to us. Is it toxic to everybody? Is it them practicing their freedom to say, well, this is our culture. This is something that we believe is going to be destructive to our youth. It's going to affect them negatively. And honestly, we can't allow our household to be influenced by this level of promiscuity, because the things that come with it can be very negative on its impact. Is that them saying, well, we're going to be smothering and we're going to just say, look, off with your head if you consume this? Or is it really just them saying this is how we really feel? It's no knock to anybody else who wants to support it, but we see how detrimental it is to the nuclear household. So we just can't have a lot of this influence over here.
I think it's again, all things can be true because we talk a lot about out of sight, out of mind, right? So OnlyFans is putting that stuff to the forefront. So it's no longer out of sight, out of mind. It's making it exclusive to everyone. But the catch-22 is you got to sign up for it. You know what I mean? You have to become, somebody's, Patreon, somebody's necessarily a fan, or you subscribe to their content. It's not like you're just going, it's just popping up on your TV and you like it's a commercial for it, or whatever fetish it is, or whatever content that you're deciding to view. But you got to think about it. You're playing in a different world now. You're involving yourself in a world where people are monetizing and making money off of that. And then now you're taking away from the profits of the people that can be making money off of it. And now what are you doing? You're starting your own business. So I'm not monetizing off of something that you can do. You're doing it. So I have no control over that. So you're now taking, if everybody does it in the places where there's a market for it, and you're doing it in the comforts of your own home. Because think about, maybe 5 or 8 years ago, webcams and people paying for that on adult video sites and stuff was a big thing. But now essentially you cut out the middleman, the plug, and you've become your own webcam 1099 employee. You're doing it from the comforts of your home. You got your own equipment, and now you set up your own business and you're monetizing that. And you think about it in a country where they're not necessarily promoting empowerment and enabling people to become better versions of themselves, because the way for you to control people is through dictatorship, and also controlling revenue, controlling jobs. If you don't make a lot of money and you stay in these poverty-stricken environments, then we can control that type of environment, depending on in the area, in the region, in the country. But you can't control people if they're making their own money, not going to your quote unquote, depending on the type of jobs that they have in those places, in those locations. Because in a lot of countries, it's not like America, where you have these big businesses and big corporations. They're all small businesses, family-owned businesses. They may be a local deli that's been passed down, throughout 3 generations. It may be a tire shop. You know what I'm saying? It's little small businesses all over the place, with the exception of big tech and stuff like that. And obviously the big car companies and corporations. But so these people, essentially Americans, are teaching the rest of the world how to get up and start your own small business, how to monetize off of things that have been monetized off of you, probably your life, your parents' life, or whomever's life. So it's just different perspectives and ways to look at it. But in order to control it so that you can't make that money and you can't monetize it, we can ban it, limit it. And then now you're still forced to go out and work in, whatever type of environment that they provide in those countries. So, again, social media, it helps people in many facets. It just depends on, how it's used.
I got you. Overall, I think a lot of this stuff, from that side to this side, to some degree, there's a level of control. You know what I'm saying? As many freedoms as we have over here, you do still get censored for a lot of stuff. I mean, hell, anybody who spoke on Charlie Kirk after that situation happened, they lost their job. And it's ridiculous, because, I mean, you don't have to like the person,
right,
to have an opinion, but because you have an opinion about something, you get demonized for it, or you got to suffer some type of consequence behind just saying, hey, I don't like this, or I don't like that. But that's fine. Nobody is going to agree on everything. And I think that is a problem when you put that wall up between us and you tell us, well, this is the direction I want you to go. It's like you're trying to funnel everybody into one space, while also simultaneously telling me that, no, you still have a choice to do and say and move how you want. But let me just nudge and pester you to go over into this direction. Like there's a huge contradictory type of ideology, if you really consider you don't want to influence us, but you're still trying to influence us.
Yeah, no matter what, you have to have control, right? Especially in an environment where you've influenced everybody to just live free, do whatever. I mean, you're creating organized chaos. And in the Charlie Kirk example, you got people that's out there. They just pick and choose who they're allowing to have certain conversations. You got to pay to play, man. And if you don't got the money and you can't play, then you can't go out there and have those type of conversations. Nobody censored Candace Owens. She's been getting busy ever since it's happened. You know what I'm saying? it's quite a few people that's out there that's talking and making noise, but again, it's selective, and that's still freedoms, but you might not necessarily have, I guess, all of the ones that you may be looking for. There's more than others, but again, it's organized chaos, it's controlled, and it's a business. It's all about making money. Everything that's happening is generating funds for somebody. If it's too watered down, it's too saturated, people won't know who to go to and who to listen to. You know what I mean? So one of the things and that's what's taken off with social media, is you're going away from the traditional reporting of what's going on out there on the streets. And that's the news, right? And that was always controlled. You had to be structured. You had to say certain things. You couldn't trigger certain people, except when you're out there and they're in those third world countries, or they're filming somebody that's being attacked or bombed, or, situations like that. So they allow them to go out there and quote unquote be journalists. But now with social media, everybody's a journalist, not a journalist, but everybody's reporting on activities that they see, whether local in their communities or abroad. So you just, Trump put that out there a couple of years ago when he started identifying everything as being, fake news, fake news, fake news. Some of the stuff may or less, may be fake news, and some of it is just you having the right just to have a casual conversation while you're online talking to whomever that you're talking to. But it just again the intent behind it. Is it hate speech? Are you attempting to persuade someone to maybe put other folks in harm's way because of how your personal and emotional feelings may be? And that's where the regulation comes into play. Because if you're just getting out there spewing all type of information with no perceived to be facts, and it's strictly emotion driven, then that can create an uprising, maybe in a negative versus in a positive light. But again, it's always has had control, and I don't think control is a bad thing. Everything needs structure, but then again, like you're saying, it just needs to be even playing field, and not picking and choosing and selecting who can say what versus who can't.
I agree, and I was just about to allude to that. So here's where I'm at. How do you decide what moral structure should look like, or what it should reflect? How do you differentiate between systemic control and moral high ground? Because I'm all for getting rid of adult content. Me personally, get rid of OnlyFans. Let these women and these youngins that's been influenced find out the hard way how difficult it is to make a living in this country doing things with your hands and not laying on your back. But some people would say it's your right to do with your body what you will. You're not harming nobody. Freedom of speech, etc., etc. How do you tell someone that you can be a sex worker and it's okay, but then you have another group in a different part of the world that doesn't believe in that, and you have different responses and different reactions to those decisions and choices? That this is why we need to have this structure here, because this is what happens when you do this versus what happens when you do that. You have people saying, all right, over here, you can be whatever you want. You can think however you want. Anything underneath the sun, within reason, you got it. But over here, nah, we not having that over here. We're not. It's a bad thing. But over here, they're saying it's a good thing. How do you structure that? Or is it even?
Yeah, you're talking apples and oranges, man. In America, you vote for you have the ability to vote. You have the ability to go out there and be a part of systems and organizations to at least express your opinion on something. You have the ability to go get educated and then come back and provide, more information. Sid brings it up all the time, research, case studies. You have the ability to go out there and do those things and present your thoughts. And whether somebody listens to it or not, you have the option to do those things versus in other countries, they don't have it. So, and if you're worried about what somebody's doing in another country, then maybe you should move into that country. That's the only thing I can think of. Because the things that they're going through in their countries, the things they're suffering, you're not sitting around wondering about how you can suffer like they're suffering. You know what I mean? In those countries, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, prostitution it may not say 100% legal, but they have places for it, right? Because we keep seeing the hypersexualized, talking about sex and stuff, and it's one of the most lucrative businesses out there. But in other countries, they actually have places for that. Versus here, you go to California, you go to Philly, New York, you got people walking down alleys, people getting in cars. But in other places, they provide a place for it. They provide condoms. They provide, make sure people are, tested. Make sure, you know what I'm saying? So that's their way of policing those things. Versus here in America, you just pretty much at the luck of the draw. You go find somebody in whatever area that you find them in, and that's what happens. Or you look at the situations as they talk about, people with a little bit more money in a higher tax bracket, they might go find a madam. They might go find somebody out there to hook them up with quote unquote, what they call an escort, not a sex worker. So it depends on, again, definition and the terminology. So they might provide you with a night of extravagance, going to the club, hanging out, drinks, socializing. So I think it's just depending on how we picking and choosing what we're talking about. Those things are still there. They're just dressed up and labeled differently. Over here, it might come with a job description and a profile. Versus over there, you may have 40 women or men sitting in rooms, and they have been properly vetted, and they have been given proper, ways to make sure that they have safe transactions. But then, do you know where those workers came from? So now you may be potentially supporting human trafficking and all those other things. So, I mean, again, man, the structure and stuff is there. It's just different countries, different leadership, and different businesses have found ways to, no different than Target, Walmart, and they provide different products, different ways of marketing to the different consumers. So we're just consumers here in America, and you have more liberties than others, and it just depends on how you go about, looking at it. It's all about the mindset and perspective.
Yeah, as long as people are making money off of it here, it's not going nowhere. It's not.
No, it's not, man.
And you have brothels, you have these farms and these locations where they specifically tailor to this. I had a buddy at my old job. He said, man, all I had to do was make a phone call. There's a site. He told me the whole layout of how they do their thing and everything. They make a living off of it. There's places for it. I do agree. I don't believe that we have a real well-structured approach to providing these specific services to specific people. This is all over the place. I don't believe that it should be promoted on Instagram and it should be on every single app that I see. There should be only, if you're going to facilitate this type of work, it should be tailored to specific spaces. It shouldn't be on Twitter and anywhere where children are using the same devices that we are using, right? But that's one issue I always had with the states in general. Everything is sloppy. Nothing is organized at all. Like, if this is what you want to do with your life and your body, you got all rights to do that, but my issue is how it affects everybody around you, how it affects children, how it's desensitized kids. Kids are growing up overly sexual. Just the other day, 15-year-old killed this girl's uh mom, brother, and sister because the girl broke up with him. Why are you 15 years old, you know, involved in relationships and things of that nature? A lot of social media is advocating for relationships. It don't even matter if you're of age or not. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not mad at China for banning it. I'm not mad at most countries for banning the shit, for real, for real. I do believe like a part of them banned it because they ain't making no money off of it. If that's true, I don't really know or can confirm if that's accurate or not. But most people are greedy and money hungry. Question: do you think people care more about money or morality right now?
Well, you can't eat off morality, man. You can't pay bills off morality. So everybody's suffering, people losing jobs left and right. I mean, it's money. That's why people are on OnlyFans. You know what I mean? Again, you talked about the social media, but the whole portion about having structure, control is putting now on Instagram. You see they coming out with teen accounts, being able to watch teen accounts. Take it off of social media and look at the movies, look at the music people have been listening to for the last 20, 30 years. Nobody talking about that. You can ride down the street and turn on the radio and hear about some kid on the radio talking about blowing somebody's brain out, or hear about some young lady talking about how many penises she sucked. So you can't pick and choose when you start talking about morality and start talking about people paying for businesses and all that kind of stuff, because the sexuality is in the music, it's in the TV, it's everywhere. It's everywhere you turn. So again, that whole structure piece, you got to be over a certain age to watch a movie. Technically, at least 17, 18 and watch an R-rated movie, 16 and watch, PG-13, whatever the case may be. Alcohol, drugs. I mean, there's so many other outlets out there other than just that. That's just one facet of it. But all of that stuff, together is what is destroying society right now. It's not just one piece of it. So again, it goes back to that structure. You got to go across the board and be consistent. The lack of consistency is, okay, I don't have to look at this on this platform. I can go do it over here. Well, I might not be able to watch it in these movies, but I can go listen to it, and get the audio version, because you got audio learners, visual learners. You got different types of learners. So some of that stuff is going to resonate with other people differently anyway. So again, when you start talking about that structure piece, and that's why some of those countries don't allow all of that stuff, hip hop, different types of music, to come in, as they say, the Westerns to rot in their cultures and stuff. You know what I mean? So again, just being consistent, just trying to be consistent across the board. So if we regulate music, we regulate movies, we regulate alcohol. Other countries, 16 and older to drink. They don't have the same problems we have in America. You know what I mean? So smoking cigarettes in America, they say tobacco will kill you. You go to these other countries, man, they run into a marathon smoking. Everybody smokes. There's cigarettes everywhere, and they don't have the issues with saying the cigarettes was killing people. You know what I mean? So is it the stuff that we're just doing in America? Because it all makes money. If we do something to hurt you, now I can prescribe you something to make you feel better. So again, it's got that monetary value in it. So what's the intentions? What's the objective? So you got to just kind of be careful, saying one thing can be more poisonous versus toward the other one. And then if they're doing that for OnlyFans, like I said, because monetary value, then I have no idea. That's something that they see that we don't see. But other countries, they have blackouts and restrictions on the internet, period. And then, like you said, here in America, we do have the internet, but there are some restrictions on the internet. If too many people are on there at one time, if you're doing something, they may throttle back your internet, so that way you can't thrive as much as you wanted to. So there's regulations. People just may or may not know about it or be aware of all the other regulations that are out there.
think there's a lot of areas in the world where they grew up under the understanding that this works for us. This keeps us healthy. This keeps us spiritually sound. It allows us to develop in a way that is conducive and abundant for generations to come. And in order for them to have come to that conclusion, those ideologies that they follow gave them enough data to suggest that this works. And because this works, I want to stick to this. This is something that I want to continue to apply, because why would I go against something that is counterproductive? I'm trying to eat healthier. I'm trying to have clean skin. I just want to be the best version of myself as possible. And if that means that I shouldn't put things in my body that are poisonous, then I don't see a problem with that. I don't think anything about going about it that way is a dictatorship. Some areas are probably like that. Matter of fact, a lot of them are. I'm certain of it. And I don't want to generalize nothing. I'm just saying that when you don't have these boundaries, you're more likely to let things in that are toxic to your mental state, to your spiritual walk. And then you start to drift off into other areas that might bring more problems than good. So overall, I think it's really up to you to determine if this is good for you or not. Then how do you do that? Like you said, and like Sydney said, there's a number of ways that you can figure this out. But you have to figure that out for yourself. Can nobody really tell you? We can talk to you and we can have these discussions like we are now. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to figure out for yourself if this is for you or not. Again, I don't see no issue with it, but
yeah, no, like you said, man, it's the education piece, man. You educate the people and you empower them to make informed decisions to better help themselves and whoever's around them. But remember, we keep talking about most of these folks are doing it by themselves. The one reoccurring theme that we mentioned is the lack of that village. You know what I mean? You got to have a solid group and a solid support system around you. If you don't have that solid support system around you, you know, the checks and balances with all the information that you're given in the world, you can still make the wrong decisions. You know what I mean? So again, it's just making sure you got a good group of people around you, like-minded folks that's, you know, looking to move forward versus move backwards or stay stagnant.
So I guess the elephant in the room is OnlyFans a benefit or a detriment to society as a whole?
It's a benefit because you're given an opportunity to make money using your talents. So if you have talents, you're a good artist, you can set up a live studio session for folks to be sitting anywhere in the world and you can share your talents and you can monetize off of it. Now, the detriment is, you know, with ego or with bad influence or bad intentions, like anything else, you can use it for something bad and it could be, you know, no longer beneficial to you or whomever you're surrounding yourself with as far as for your team of building and trying to make that difference for, generating that income or supplement that income that you may or may not be getting from somewhere else. So again, it's a gift and a curse. It's no difference. Everything is balanced. There's people that, like you mentioned the video, the gentleman mentioned as far as for people not being able to monetize off of it, or the government's not being able to monetize off of it. And that's something completely different, because again, if you got a strong team, say if you had a board of people that was on OnlyFans and they thought this was something that was thriving and helping them out, then you can put together something. You can put together a panel discussion or a platform and talk about how it's helping people generate funds and income. And if the government, quote unquote, was mad because they weren't looking for a way to monetize off of it, then that's something that you had a representative. That's why they got unions, they got spokespeople, they got different people that's out there. Get you somebody to speak for OnlyFans or behalf, and then talk about how you can maybe cut a percentage of it. You know what I mean? 1099, and you giving whatever percentage to the government to give back to, versus them taking control over it and then piecemealing and giving it back to you, because now you're just becoming another employee. You're no longer a 1099. So it kind of changes it. And then most of the money and all the efforts and things that you're putting into it, goes to the government, versus you actually being a business owner and thriving, and then, making your own money off of it, minus the, benefits and entitlements and compensations, obviously, and stuff like that. But like I alluded to, there's no difference than when the webcam videos and stuff were on all those other sites, but the sites and the domains were owned by somebody, and I'm sure all that money was going towards somebody else, and they may have given you a small, not you, but whoever the individual was that were partaking, giving them a small percentage, versus now OnlyFans, you getting a larger percentage of it. So I think it's just kind of just depends on, again, the perspective of it.
Real quick, shout out to Octavia. To answer your question, I did see that documentary. It's not in regards to it specifically. It was actually a question that came because China decided that they were going to ban it. And they banned it. Their reasoning behind it was because of the negative connotations surrounding the actual material and content itself. So we're talking about whether or not this is based on a morale situation, or if there's other factors that play into it. As far as it being a benefit, I agree with both of you, right? But I agree because the platform itself, I always thought it was just so that you could just showcase like your talents and stuff. I don't believe OnlyFans is strictly sexual, because there's people who actually do things on it other than just that. It's only known for it because it's predominantly ruled by sexuality. That's my issue with it, because you have kids in elementary school and high school looking at this stuff. They might not have access to the actual platform, but this is 2025. There are ways that you can screen record, screenshot. You can get links that take you through different little corridors to get to these videos. And your kids are 11 and 12 years old having sex and getting pregnant because they've been influenced by things that they shouldn't even have their eyes on in the first place. Now, who do you put blame on for that? That's a whole different discussion. I do think that there are benefits to it. Like if I'm a great rapper or an artist, or I can play the piano real well, I would definitely use OnlyFans. I would use it. Why not? But that's not really going to get much traction because people are not going over there for that. They're going over there to see lewd content.
Let me jump in, man, because I think it says it in the title. The name of it is OnlyFans. Worrying about the traction and all that other stuff, it's irrelevant because it's for your OnlyFans. You know what I'm saying? So all the negative connotation that comes with it and everything else, that's, I mean, I don't even know what to call that, because the intention, the platform was created, and I think somebody came up with a great idea, you know, and giving you the opportunity again to use your talents to monetize off of. So I'm not worried about anybody else worrying about any traffic. I'm worried about my marketing plan. I'm worried about my objectives, my business plan, and how the hell I'm gonna get my OnlyFans to come over here and support me in what I'm doing. It has nothing to do with the masses. And I think that's that groupthink mentality where everybody's just kind of, you know, hey, this is what they're doing over there and this is what they're worried about. One, if you're looking to get into it, then do your due diligence and do your homework. Figure out what the platform is about. Figure out the credibility of the platform. And then, you know, like Octavia said, if I'm in the fitness, you know, the discipline that comes into being in the fitness. You know what I mean? It's nothing easy about doing that. You know, when it comes to eating, you know, the structure of being on those plans, all the things that you're going into, you know, to stay active and stay engaged, and you're sharing that commonality with your OnlyFans, only your fans on that website. So I think we got to get out of that group thinking, that large mentality, because you can easily reframe that by just promoting your positivity, and then you're only worried about the people that you're targeting demographic, your target audience. And I think what happens is the only thing that gets promotion and traction nowadays is maybe somebody showing their body parts and those other things. But other things are starting to pop up. So both things can be true. Like I just saw some young man flipping 30 eggs at one time. Now, I don't know why he's flipping 30 eggs at one time, but it caught people's attention, and then that was something that was going. But we live in a world where everything comes and goes so quick that it's hard to, you know, maintain, because remember what we talk about, it's easy to get there, but you got to maintain it. So I think, you know, the thing that's easy to help people maintain to the OnlyFans from the sexual aspect of it is, again, now every time, like you mentioned earlier, you go on Instagram, you turn something on, and people are, you know, showing their bodies everywhere. And there's nothing wrong with that, because people have been doing that for years. You know, the Caucasians on Playboy, Playgirl, you know, all the Hustler, all those magazines, for years, people have been doing it. But now it's open to the everyday common folk that don't have to be involved in those social circles that can only, you know, get discovered by your P. Diddy's and your certain people. Now you can be sitting at home and got some good looking feet, and if that's what's gonna make you a couple of dollars, you can throw that on your OnlyFans and generate some funds. So I totally agree with you, but I just think, again, you know, we just have to be careful, because like you said earlier, you know, the control piece, now we're kind of inadvertently trying to control what people are doing on the platform. So I definitely agree that it needs to be more of and I think it's coming, man. Sooner or later, you won't be able to get on these platforms without some type of, you know, 2-chip identifier. So, you know, and I think that's part of it as well, is to allow you access, to allow people to get in the uproar. So now you need more security, you know, more the chip that's coming to be able to access and say is you the real ID. You won't be able to get on certain platforms without real ID. And then, you know how they have the blue chips on Instagram, X, and all those other things. So if you're not identified as a real person of age, I think those are all things that kind of put you into that realm that you have to be identified to say you are of age, you are who you are. So I think the platform was created that way, to have shortfalls and limiting factors. So that way you have to make tweaks and you have to make tweaks and fine tune it in order to add security, and in order to get people to buy into the system that, okay, yeah, you will need those real IDs, you will need those other things to gain access to the platform. So I think you 100% correct. I just think it's a way, it's rolling out that way. So it's a great idea. We'll give you the issues that they have, and then now we'll give you the fix to those issues. Is now you have to accept the real ID and those other things to be able to be authorized to be on these actual sites to continue making money. So I think that's might be another play that's coming out. We just don't see it.
Yeah, if you can send somebody to the moon,
allegedly,
Allegedly, because yeah, I'm kind of on the fence with that too. If you can allegedly send somebody to the moon, there's no reason why this shouldn't have been a conversation decades ago. I mean, come on. You telling me now all of a sudden we're going to start seeing you take more concern about how kids and others that are impressionable get access to these things? Now you're just figuring this out. Now you're just starting to have this conversation. That's unacceptable. That's an excuse to me. You are basically, and I'm not here to judge either, but you're basically telling me that this is the wild, wild west. We can all run around with our gun holstered and pace 3 steps, turn and shoot whenever we want. And then, oh, we're just going to start to turn it into a sport, or now we're just going to make it safer for you to do it. Everything is lawless under this false pretense that everything is actually free. Now, Octavia, I don't judge you. I'm not talking about you specific. I don't judge a person for being in that market. That's your life. However, for my own personal preferences, I can attach my brand to it. Why? For many reasons. There's a reason why a young lady gets fired from Spirit Airlines for twerking while she's on the job. There's a reason why a nurse gets fired. Matter of fact, I give you once more. Take it a little step further. I did a reacting video to a CNA. She was a nurse at a hospice. This woman was giving fellatio to the 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 adults in the hospital, the hospice. She was literally caught on camera giving head to the elderly in the hospital, and she was caught after doing it under investigation for months. But you take that and tell me I'm not supposed to judge that? That's one thing. I got my grandfather, my uncle in there. They on their deathbed or they're sick, and you got men and women in these spaces preying on your loved ones. You're definitely going to judge that. You're definitely going to look at that sideways. Now, if you are a sex worker and you making a living off of it, I have no problem with that either. What I have a problem with is the lack of control that might be there because, well, these applications don't make it less accessible to them. I don't want I don't want my kids or my family and my children looking at this shit. I don't want them having access to this. I don't want them to grow up that way. You might like there's people who won't care about that. I care about that. I don't want my son to be 11 years old staring at women that's 35 years old in the line at a grocery store because they saw something on Instagram or they saw something on social media where a grown ass woman was twerking in her shorts promoting her OnlyFans. I don't want that for my kid. That's not being judgmental. That's just me having a preference. So you can do whatever you want. Everybody can do and move how they want. But as a content creator of any facet, you have to understand that you are a influencer. Your reach might be specifically for a group of folks, but your content is still going to end up out here for a number of other people. You can't control who sees it. You might have a system or a format, but people, all you got to do, like even right now as we talking, all you got to do is take your phone, put it in front of the screen, and screen record the whole live stream, the whole whatever. Your friend might have an account with OnlyFans. All you got to do is screen record their stuff, and then you can share it and market and make money off of it. There's no real control. There's no real way of keeping it from the eyes of people who shouldn't be laying their faces on it. That's my position on it. Do what you want with it, but understand you still are going to be held accountable because your content is directly or indirectly affecting folks that are going to get something from it that they probably shouldn't. But
Yeah, so I'll take it back to the movies and the music, right? I think content creators, what they're realizing is what's happening is you're putting the cart before the horse. Everything you're talking about is from the aspect of a business owner, and those are things you sit down and come up with a business plan prior to starting your business. So if you're just jumping online and creating content, then this probably ain't for you. But if you're posting stuff online, and that's why everybody's got disclaimers, and that's no different again. Going back to the movies, going back to music, back to the freaking drugs that's on the commercials. They say that'll help you, and then at the end of the drugs, at the end of the commercial, it'll be a 1.8 speed, and you won't be understand shit he's saying. Be responsible because this can cause blah 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 that may kill you. You're not stopping your kids from watching those commercials in between their favorite TV shows. So I think, again, it goes back to the education piece. Those are things that you do in the comfort of your own home, and you educate your kids, your family, whomever it is, just like you do, depending on what neighborhood you live in, just like you do, like you mentioned, Halloween, when they were talking about putting fentanyl in the candy. It's all the education piece. And I think we have to take more responsibility in educating and executing with our families on how we want to see fit. No different than if you're in school, they go through fire alarm drills, they go through those type of drills to alert them in the event that if something happens, it's muscle memory. Now they know what they need to do. So if you see that online, and then it goes back to preference. You said it, man. Great choice of words, because in everything that you do online, there are settings that have preferences within that to allow you to view, not view, or whatever the case may be. What happens is we talk about these phones as if they're just phones. They're not. They're, for the most part, $1,400, $1,600 piece of electronic equipment that are computers that people are building brands and businesses off of. Giving a 3 to 11-year-old such a powerful device and not teaching them how to properly use it, that's probably comes to operator and user error. So just like you wouldn't give your kid a gun and not teach them the safety functions and how to, use it, make sure they got proper training and everything else. And for the people that say, hey, you wouldn't give your kid a gun, some people do. Some people train their kids at an early age how to deal with firearms. So that way they don't have to worry about what to do when they're not there. So when you give anybody this type of advice, there should come some training that comes along with it. The apps that are on there, your personal information that are on there, getting your personal information stolen from somebody online, because that's just that's something that's more important than anything else is your personal information being stolen. These kids, we talked about Roblox a few weeks ago. Again, so it comes back to the education piece, and some people may not think about that because you only know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. If you don't have somebody within your circle that's in the IT, that's in the computers and those type of things, getting your kids into cyber coding courses, getting them caught up to date with what's going on in 2025. Whether we want to believe it or not, everything is happening within the world in the realm of the internet. And so we need to stay up to date of what's going on and make sure we're educating young and old how to use these devices and what not to click on. Just like if you get an email, don't click on that link. Now your jobs will tell you that. They're giving you safety training at work for those are the people who have jobs. Don't just click on this link. This link can take you to somewhere else. It has a virus on it, blah, 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 blah. Same concept, man. It's no longer about the age because everybody's has access to everything at an early age. So again, we need to make sure that we're just educating people. And then it's just like the kids. Some people may leave their kids with a tablet to watch. And then if they click a button or something else along those lines, somebody tap in the chat room and ask certain questions, just like back in the day, danger stranger, don't talk to strangers. Well, now it's no longer in person. Now it's online. So now we need to morph and, figure out a way to bridge that gap from how we learn to not physically talking to people in person. Now explaining to them about the dangers of talking to somebody online that they don't know, because it's the same concept. The difference is they may appear safe, but they may not be because they're hiding behind an avatar or just words on screen. And like you said, it could be somebody of an older age, ill will and bad intentions. So again, I agree with you, man. I just think that we have to stay current and up to date with the mindset on how we're educating our people, not just our kids, because we got adults now that'll say, well, I don't want to use that because I'm not really big into to computers or to the internet. And then they'll find themselves scrolling because somebody sent them a meme or a gift, and now they're on there, or they're on Temu, like somebody mentioned, or they're on, Wayfair, which everybody knows the dangers and the things about Wayfair. We've already talked about that. So again, I just think it comes back to the education piece, because what happens is information is so fast and so fluid. Some of us are getting the information and it stops with us. We don't necessarily turn around and share something unless it may be a funny meme or a gift, and not necessarily the dangers and the educations of being online. So I agree with you, man. But those are things that you just have to, go through the phone prior to giving it to your kids. Maybe you need to go in there and address, hit up all the settings, take away the incognito mode. You know what I mean? Periodically check your kids' phones. We're so much in the world where nobody wants to let anybody see their phones because they're ashamed of the things that they may be looking up and they're hiding on their phones. So again, just full transparency. If we're really looking out for the betterment of people around us, we just got to make sure we're educating everybody, man. So I agree with you, but you can't stop educating people on these devices and the different things that's going online and the trends and things. So, but yeah, I agree.
Well said. I actually agree. I agree with everything, honestly. Because at the end of the day, man, we have freedom to choose the life that we want and do the things that we wish to do, whether or not you pursue those dreams or those goals or ambitions is one thing. Whether or not you believe that you can do more than what that offers you, that's subjective. I really don't have anything other than to add, other than creators who you got to be very mindful of what you're putting out here. You might not really care, but you should. Just because I might not be susceptible to listening to every single word that come out of people's mouth, that don't mean that there's not a man or a woman or an adult somewhere that's just they tuned in every Monday to Friday to listen to that one specific person because they know how to reach them better than somebody else, and they take their advice and their word for what it is. That's my only thing. It's dangerous. Can't really listen to everybody, and you can't consume everything that you see and hear. So I get what that man was saying in the video. I understand why there are countries who operate that way. And I can also understand from a business aspect why that would be an issue too. So good talk. Good talk. And shout out to,
Go ahead, my bad.
I was just gonna say shout out to Octavia for pulling up.
Yeah, she has some great points. Yeah, definitely some great points. And like you said, man, I think that's what people. I think that's what a disconnect is the business aspect of it, is because you essentially really are running a business. You know what I mean? And if you aren't consulting with somebody, you know, and you've never, all you've done was put in hard work. You used to being a laborer. Then there's a lot of things that you're not going to see. There's a lot of things that you're not going to catch. And like you said, you just putting the good, whether it's good content or you think it's good, but to believe it's good content, you're putting that information out there, and all it takes is you reaching that one person. And that's where, again, you know, no pun intended, OnlyFans, your only fan is tuned into you, and they're latching on to every word that you're saying. You just be responsible, because you never know who you may be affecting, you know, out there with your words, good, bad, or indifferent. But great broadcast today, brother.
And with that being said, man, we about to get up out of here, but we clipped up all week, and we got another one for y'all tonight, man. So if you free, tap in with us. We got the crew in the building. I think Sydney might be on the road. But we spinning back. Tap in, come through, share your thoughts with us. Always enjoy engaging with the comment section, specifically with these type of conversations, because it just solidifies that these things matter to somebody, not just us. You know what I mean? So you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going back into the laboratory. I'm always in the laboratory. Call me Dexter. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we out, man. And hopefully we get to chop it up later on.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I am, my ancestors speak. They tell me the tide isn't front on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would